Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and this time we have the pleasure of watching MoshiMoshiRoyMustangDesu playing in the Tier 9 Swedish auto-loading heavy tank. Of course it's the Emil II. Now, Moshi, as I'm going to be calling him through this replay, because I don't think I'm going to be able to say MoshiMoshiRoyMustangDesu all the way through the replay, even though I'm sure that a lot of you would like to see the challenge if I could possibly get that kind of a tongue twister out all the way through. Now, I've recently reviewed this Tier 9 auto-loading Swedish heavy tank. That was a full review. I've gone into full depth of the statistics of this vehicle, how it stacks up to other tanks such as the Emil II 5120, and pretty much, long story short, but I do recommend if you, having watched this replay, you're interested in this tank and you want to find out more about it, you should check out the review. But long story short, the Emil II sacrifices pretty much all of the capabilities of the tank compared to the Emil II 5120, i.e. the speed, the gun handling, the DPM, some penetration, just absolutely everything to be able to gain an incredible turret. But nevertheless, the sacrifices that you make are possibly only 10 to 15% in these areas, and the Emil II is still a very capable vehicle at mid to long ranges. Unfortunately, that last shell of Moshi's clip seems to dip, so I'm not sure if he would have got his fourth round there into the mouse. But what a great magazine to start this game, putting 3 rounds in and possibly one that hit the mouse there. But, you know, trying to get through the side even of that tier 10 German super heavy tank is quite tricky at those long ranges, especially with APCR rounds, because not a lot of people remember or realize that while APCR rounds usually have a little bit more penetration than your standard armor piercing rounds, when they do travel over distances, they lose more penetration than the standard armor piercing rounds will. And so the APCR rounds of the Emil II at those kind of 400, 450, maybe even 500 meters that he was engaging that mouse will start to dip off and possibly fail to penetrate it. Now, Moshi is going to make his way towards the south of this map and try and use his gun depression and, as I mentioned, the highlight of this tank, the incredible turret armor, to be able to work this bush to see if he can quell the advance. Now, one thing that's very interesting in this replay is this mouse, he just feels absolutely so safe. It looks like he did lose a little bit of hit points. Wow, what a snapshot there into the T49. That mouse is literally just sitting there. Fair enough, Moshi has now tracked him. But I think the mouse just is trying to do some kind of a mission, or maybe he's just realizing that his tank has been buffed so much by wargaming that it not only has about a 57% win ratio on average at tier 10, which is simply preposterous. It's got to be one of the highest, if not the highest, in the game at the moment. That's even including the Clan Wars reward tanks. This mouse just doesn't give a monkey's. Standard rounds, especially from vehicles like the IS-3, even premium rounds from the IS-3, are just going to fail to go through it. But Moshi has the obvious counter for the mouse, and that is to dab the 2 key, load the gold, and fire those heat rounds. Now, the heat rounds lose no penetration over long range, and while they don't have normalization, this 300 millimeters of penetration will be great for going through the lower plate of the mouse. First round in, the mouse seems to wake up as if he realizes, what? I can't just sit out in the open in front of like 5 or 6 tanks. I have to get myself into cover. Wow, how terrible is this? Moshi manages to put 2 rounds out of his 4-round heat magazine there, and even the 300 penetration only has a 50-50 chance by the looks of it of going through the mouse's weak points. Now Moshi decides that he wants to try and get out of this position now, or I don't think that's due to the fact that he feels that he's going to lose the south. That's not the case. Of course, that position is very vulnerable to artillery, and you need to watch out. A lot of the artillery will love to sneak up into this location you see me highlighting here on the map, and then they'll be able to get shots over that ridge and down into that location. And the Emil II, while it has fantastic turret armor, and its frontal hull armor is reasonably well angled, it's not the thickest, and so you are going to be losing a lot of hit points from artillery. But Moshi leaves that flank not because I don't think he thought that he could win it. I think it's because he felt that the center of the map and the north of the map are where the game is being lost. And now 3 tanks down, Moshi turns his attention to this T49. He's on 359 hit points. That should be a one-shot for the 120mm. There you go. First round, first kill. Moshi now turns his attention to the lower plate of the Jagdtiger, and the Jagdtiger still has 829 hit points. Oh, what a roll there. 442 allows him to finish off the Jagdtiger. Nice roll there. Allows him to take him down with a single magazine after killing the T49 and not having to reload or just leave that Jagdtiger in the game, possibly for the batch at 155.55 at the back of the map to be able to finish off. Now, having dealt with several threats now, well, a couple of threats, couple of kills himself, and also pushing that mouse out of that location, who doesn't seem to have lost any more hit points since Moshi has left that location. Now he wants to turn his attention to the north of the map. There are 2 premium tier 8 heavy tanks that are pushing their way in, and the Emil II is absolutely fantastic against those kind of tanks. It can struggle against the vehicles with higher DPM, especially the faster vehicles, medium tanks that manage to get its flank, or even if light tanks just try and surround it, track it, and avoid its terrible turret traverse, which is one of the things you can do against the Emil. But in this kind of a position, against these tier 8 premiums, it is just absolutely golden. Well, not so much when they're hull down. That T-34 has a strong turret, he's not going through that, but maybe he has a chance to go through the Lerva turret. Now he's loaded APCR rounds again here. I'm not sure if he was firing heat previously. No, I don't think he was. I think he was firing APCR at that Jagdtiger. I was thinking that through because the Jagdtiger, obviously its upper plate is rather good, but when it reversed its way down the slope, then the Emil II's excellent gun depression of 12 degrees allowed him to just shoot flush down onto that upper plate, and when you do that, the upper plate of the Jagdtiger isn't very good. Talking about things that aren't very good, this Lerva, when he's got his side towards the Emil there, Moshi tracks him in place, finishes him off, and turns his attention to the T-34. And even though the aim time of the Emil II is absolutely tragic, we're talking about the base aim time on this tank is 2.8 seconds. Actually, that's not that bad in retrospect, and when you do put on a gun laying drive or vertical stabilizers and you have an exceptionally skilled crew, you're probably able to cut that down. And considering that, as I mentioned in the tank review of this vehicle, the main disadvantage of the Emil compared to a lot of the other autoloaders is an exceptionally long unload time, 3.33 seconds delay between each one of its shots, meaning it takes 10 seconds to fire off its entire magazine. Then it doesn't really matter too much if your aim time is a little longer, if of course that intra-clip reload is the thing that holds you back. Wow, the T-28 prototype doesn't even stop on his way towards Moshi here. Moshi now only has to do 312 damage to finish him off, but he min-rolls. He actually min-rolls in World of Tanks. That's something that's quite hard to do these days with, I think they lowered the normalization on the shells a little bit so you don't get those min-max rolls quite so much. But 300 damage out of 400, that is minus 25%, and luckily enough, that wasn't a deciding factor as Moshi did have an additional round to be able to finish off that turreted tier 8 American tank destroyer. Now, even though he's up 5 kills and 6,000 damage, which is fantastic for any tank, let alone a tier 9 vehicle, Moshi finds himself in a 1 versus 6 situation against 2 tanks that are higher tier, 2 vehicles that are equal tier, and 2 vehicles that are lower tier. And one of them is that mouse. Is it the same mouse? I believe it is, or it might not be. Considering he came in from this direction, it most likely is. I think the other mouse was here when he died. So Moshi needs to finish the job that he started, and he has loaded the ammunition to do so. That mouse is on 572 hit points. That means that he's going to have to invest at least 2 shells. The artillery stuns him, but a quick dab of his 5 key puts his crew back into pristine effect. And oh my word, he sets the mouse on fire. What a great start. Oh no, he misses the shell on the griller. 372 hit points. He's going to have to roll pretty good to finish him off. There you go. 373 damage done there. And the Conway as well. Well, he just removed half of his 1 versus 6 situation, and now he is at 1 versus 3. What a magazine there. Now up to 7,000 damage, and is that 8 kills? Yes, it is. Wow, Radley Walters already, and he is in good contention now for the Pools medal. I'm quite surprised he didn't lose quite as many hit points as I thought he was going to there, and he's still on 1,120 hit points. That's great. That means he can take a few shots from an artillery, possibly even 2 shots from the Stridsvagn S1 on the enemy team. But he's got to be careful about pushing out around this ridge. Sure, he wants to use the great gun depression of the Emil II. Sure, he only wants to expose his turret armor to the Stridsvagn S1, and we saw just how effective that was against the Gorilla, 750 damage blocked. And the Gorilla, I believe, has about 276 millimeters of penetration, a lot like on the Jagdtiger or possibly on the WTR Panzer IV as a better comparison. So now Moshi decides that he wants to try and work his way along the north. The S1 hasn't been spotted yet on the enemy team. Hasn't been located anywhere on the map, so it's a mystery where he's going to be coming from. But the key thing that Moshi needs to realize from that, and as you should do in all of your games, if tanks haven't been spotted, it's most likely they're going to be coming at you with all of their hit points. Now, how many hit points does an S1 have? That tier 8 Swedish premium tank destroyer. It's 1,000 flush, I believe, or just about 1,000. So that means that Moshi is going to have to penetrate 3 out of his 4 rounds unless he lows incredibly low, but the chances of that are very unlikely to be able to shut down the S1. Now, of course, after he deals with the S1, he's got to hope that the M53-55 and the M40-43 doesn't splash some rounds on him. Sure, he's got a lot of hit points, but if he takes a hit from the S1 and a couple of hits from the artillery, that might be enough to go through the armor on the Emil. Considering it's 60 on the side, 30 at the rear, and it hasn't got very good top armor, irrelevant of the front plate of this tank being incredibly thick, as we can see with all the ricochets off. That's where his 2,370 damage has been blocked, and that would be enough to kill this tank, well, at least 1.5 times over, let alone the situation he finds himself in now against the M40-43. He doesn't penetrate the first shot. And this is a brilliant play here. He realizes he could shoot the artillery. But why would he shoot the artillery right now when his main priority is to take out the S1? The S1 over-angles his armor, and Moshi doesn't quite fire. He pushes round the corner. The M40-43 closing the distance with the M53-55 also splashing him. Finishes him off. Oh no, don't do it. The M40-43 must be reloading. Oh wait. Look how small the Emil is in this situation. He's got this side. He's riding up the wall. Is he going to crush the M40-43 to death? Not quite. He's basically wall riding him right now. What an awkward situation. Oh gosh, is that rock going to stop him? Or will he slide his way over the rock? He slides his way over the rock, makes his way to the side of the M40-43, and he only has a few seconds left now to survive. Hopefully the M53-55 on the enemy team doesn't splash him. Will he be able to finish reloading? 400 damage. Is it going to be one shot? Yes, it will. That's the coin flip. 400 on the dot. Oh, there's the artillery shell. Only 214 though. He had his butt to the enemy artillery there. That could have been an absolute heartbreak. But Moshi secures his 10th kill. He's now on a Pool's medal and 8,300 damage in a tier 9 vehicle. What a crazy result so far. But Moshi, let's finish the job. Let's not make this a heartbreak, buddy. Let's find that M53-55 and shut him down. Now Moshi has decided to not reload. He's had to kick so much ass in this gameplay that he's now been reduced to 7 rounds of ammunition in his tank. 3 APCR rounds, those are the cheap ones. Those are the rounds that will probably be more effective against the M53-55 as well, as it's most likely that the 120mm caliber gun will have some parts of that vehicle where it can overmatch. But of course, heat rounds, while they do penetrate up to 85 degrees, from 85 to 90, you aren't going to be overmatching the vehicle. And if you can hit past a 90-degree angle, well, then you're a magician and you're curving your shots, I guess. So, Moshi, where is this artillery going to be? Well, with the last hit he took, he knows that the indication pointed towards the enemy base. He's got to be careful here, but at least the Emil does have a decent top speed limit of 56 kilometers an hour. But its power to weight ratio is rather lackluster. To be exact, the power to weight ratio is 14.09. And that does allow it to get up to about 40, 35, 40 along a flat slope, but it doesn't really allow it to challenge the top speed limit of this tank unless he can gain some momentum going down the slope. Now the buzzer sounds, 2 minutes left on the game. Moshi needs to get into the cap circle in the next 12 seconds if he wants to fully cap out, and that should be his priority right now. He's got 8, 7, 6, but he doesn't need to because the artillery's right there. Turns his attention to him, puts one in. Artillery just completely misses or doesn't take the shot. I didn't even see where that shell flew. Looks like it flew directly over his tank. For some reason, the audio there kind of cut out a little bit. But Moshi shuts him down, picking up his 11th kill, and he doesn't need that final APCR round even to claim the life of the Tier 9 American self-propelled gun. So what an incredible round here for MoshiMoshiRoyMustangDesu representing the North American server. He achieved the 3rd highest experience game of all time in the Emil II with this round, and he also becomes joint 2nd with regards to most kills ever in the Emil II, with only one other replay managing 12. For this achievement, it's unsurprising Moshi receives his ace tanker for 2,061 base experience points. That's absolutely crazy for a Tier 9 vehicle. He also picks up the medal that everybody wants, the Kolobanov's medal for standing alone against at least 5 opponents, in this case 6, a Pascucci's medal for killing the 2 enemy self-propelled guns, a Pool's medal for his 11 kills, and a high caliber for 9,195 damage. This was an all-round fantastic carry for Moshi. I love the way he used his vehicle to its maximum capacity in this game, the way that he read the map, relocated before he needed to be there, focused his firepower with maximum efficiency to make sure he took out the most dangerous targets first, and capped it all off by dancing with that artillery piece for about 30 seconds while he reloaded his magazine to finish him off and win the game. So Moshi, congratulations to you, and thank you so much for uploading this on the What Replays website to to the share with the community. I thoroughly enjoyed this game, and hopefully all of you out there enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider giving it a like. I'd really appreciate it. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.